It's time to get into what I call the traps of estimation. These are the things that we think, that the bad patterns we tend to fall into around estimates. They're related to the drawbacks, but the drawbacks are kind of always there. You don't have to necessarily fall into the traps. So, here's the first one. That our estimates imply certainty. Our first trap is thinking that because we've estimated, we've invested some effort in this, we have predicted the future, we have accuracy and precision, and we should have perfect confidence about when everything is going to happen. Oftentimes, we should actually be wary and remain very curious. You see this all the time. I've talked about this already previously. A team goes and puts together some rough estimates. They share them with a lead with a million caveats about like, well, this might not happen, or assuming this and assuming that. Next thing you know, that lead is talking to someone outside the team or a senior stakeholder or somebody, and suddenly there's like, hey, just so you know, we're looking forward to that thing you're going to get done finishing in October. And they're like, what are you talking about? And it's just a little estimation, even with intention to control that expectation that it sets, gets people into the wrong space. So this isn't just leads as well. I've seen teams fall into this. I've seen devs do quick estimates and then just kind of go like, yep, cool, good enough, did it. Now I know what's going to happen. And I've also seen this happen post estimates failing, where people are rationalizing why their estimates are still actually certain and why they're really good estimates and why we should always trust their estimates for the future. Look, you just estimated. You did not become Nostradamus, okay? Don't fall for your own guesswork and be wary of others falling for it too. Both happen. Okay. How do we get more value out of estimation? We put more time and effort into it. Second trap of estimation. We can get better accuracy just by investing more time. We can get more use. We can make estimation more worthwhile if we just continue to invest in it. So this will often take the form of people wanting to break things down more and more and more. We're going to talk about this quite a bit later. It doesn't work particularly well in a lot of circumstances. In fact, in many can make things worse. Just know, for this trap, you don't necessarily get more estimation accuracy just because you spent more time or had more people involved or whatever it was. Also, this runs opposite the idea of understanding the opportunity cost, the relative value of estimation versus everything else you could be doing. When people fall into this trap, they'll spend all their time on estimation, trying to make the estimates better, not realizing that like they only should have spent a little time maybe based on everything else that they could be doing to move towards the goal. Worst cases of this, I've seen companies pulling leads offline for days or weeks at a time over and over and over to just continually get more estimates to create more plans and these sorts of things. Now, sometimes more time can help get you more estimation accuracy or use, either in the form of more people involved or just more time invested, different techniques, whatever it might be. But that's not a guarantee, and don't treat it like it is. Third trap. Good estimation is about following that process perfectly. Oh my goodness, this is the trap everywhere. So there's some way that a person was taught how they should estimate, what it looks like to create a backlog and to pull up a ticket and to have everybody walk through it. And they're going to talk about relative versus absolute and story points and grooming. These are some things we're going to talk about later, honestly. Or some, PMP textbook about how you do this, the PMBOK. We just need to follow all the steps. And then if we do that, if we force everyone to go through all the steps and how you're supposed to estimate, then we will win. At least according to this article I read on Medium by a guy who seemed to know what he was talking about. This happens all the time. Yes, we use processes to estimate. Yes, if we do a great job following a good process, we're more likely to get good outcomes when it comes to estimation. And if we follow a terrible one or even don't follow a good one, like we don't follow any of the rules and we try to estimate anyway, we're probably going to get bad results in both those ideas. But there's this idea of a perfect method. It's not there. There is no perfect method. Estimation is a context-specific activity. It's going to change as you go through different phases of development. It's going to change as your team changes. It's going to change as you observe which parts of it work and don't, or at least it should. So the biggest negative impact I've seen here is just a lot of wasted time doing a bunch of steps that don't actually add much value. I think the thing I'll say about this, don't try to make your specific reality fit to a generic model. Generic models, generic processes, checklists, things like that, they're helpful. But your specific reality may need something special. Trap number 4. More people equals better estimates. Cool. Okay, so this one is pretty tricky. I do want to call it a trap. It's heavily related to the third trap, that idea of if only we followed the process perfectly, but it can be separate as well. So maybe if I just involve more people in estimation, then I would get better estimates. So, element of truth here. Sometimes bringing more people in is how you get more accurate or more useful estimates. A diverse set of experts all discussing what an estimate might be, assuming no dysfunction in the space, will probably perform better than any one of them if they're able to dialogue about what the estimate should be. However, more people does not necessarily equal better outcomes, and it definitely always equals more time. I could have everybody at an 150-person studio be part of estimating everything that everyone is doing just in case they can add value to it. I hope it's obvious that that amount of time would not be worthwhile, and nothing would actually ever get done. I am usually a fan of having groups estimate, but for some other reasons, not necessarily accuracy, but that's one of them. But you got to keep that within reason. You've got to understand your own situation. More people doesn't always equal better estimates. Ready to invert it? Number 5, fewer people equals better value. So this is somebody who's actually understood a little bit more of the nuance of the opportunity cost and has said, well, maybe if I had fewer people estimate, if that makes it less expensive from a time cost, and maybe I can get still pretty good numbers, and that could work really well. And then they go to kind of an extreme level, and you see teams going down to the point where, let's say I've got a team that's like an art content pipeline, and the only people who are allowed to estimate are the leads, right? So only my character art lead or my animation lead or my VFX lead, they estimate. No one else is allowed to estimate because I don't want them wasting time. Okay. Where was I? So you can imagine an art team where you made only the leads able to estimate. No one else was allowed to estimate, and that's so that we could save time and effort to just doing the work. No one else would have to waste any time doing any of the estimation. Okay. You see this a lot. Again, can be wise. I have absolutely worked in environments where the leads or a subgroup of people did the majority of the estimation. And again, it's a time saver. But if you use this as standard practice for everything, it can backfire on you, and you can actually not get the insight you need from the estimation, even though you think like, well, we'll just have the leads do it. That'll save everybody time. Yeah, but you might get significantly worse estimates, or you might get some other problem that you didn't realize. So you may end up hurting rather than helping by just pulling people out and always trying to do it with fewer. By the way, there's another challenge with this one, is that if there's one person estimating frequently, that person tends to get emotionally attached to their estimates. They start becoming part of their almost identity at work of like, oh, I'm doing all the estimates, and so they need to be good. And that can cause all kinds of weird, bad behaviors. You even see that when groups estimate sometimes, if someone's really obsessed with being right, which again, estimation is not 100% right. It's not 100% accurate. That's the whole thing with it. So anyway, trap leads to just kind of low levels of learning also, where fewer people are involved, and so not everybody is getting the experience of going through estimation cycles. Anyway, this is a trap. Always thinking, okay, how can we do it with fewer people? Sometimes you want a group. All right, next trap. I've tried estimation. It's a waste of time. This is our penultimate trap. And I will say one of the problems with this is it's actually true a lot of the time. Sadly so. Many devs, leads in game and software development have mostly experienced estimation as something that does not add a ton of value and does take a lot of time. So let's be clear about that. Let's understand this trap. But the trap is like, I'm not going to estimate because it's never valuable. Yeah. Be aware of this. It is out there. A lot of people will say something like this. It's not true. I've used estimation on teams that thought this way and gotten value out of it. I've converted teams from teams that don't want to estimate to teams that are comfortable estimating. Yeah, response makes sense. It's a trap. You're going to have to figure out, if you're in an environment where a lot of people believe this, how to get estimation or the value you're going for via estimation somehow without triggering everybody's PTSD from whatever dark past they have around estimation. And the final trap, one we've covered, I think I'll just hit it really lightly. We have to estimate. If we don't estimate, it means we suck at our jobs. It's a necessity. If we didn't estimate, we wouldn't know anything. Again, the underlying this is this idea, if you're not estimating, you're failing. I see this one perpetrated by producers the most. This idea of like, well, I mean, part of my job, I got to be estimating, right? And then probably directors next. Well, I got to have estimates so I can make the plan to put it all together. In the last trap, we said basically these are people who have had such a bad experience that they stop estimating. This is why I think a lot of times producers and directors and folks are going, we have to do it. And they don't really know why. They're not communicating that. They're not handling this well. And almost deriving their value from estimating and planning. This is a trap. You don't always have to estimate. We know this intuitively because most of us have examples in our own lives where we haven't estimated things, or in work where we haven't estimated things and it's worked out, where a bug has come into a team as an example, no one estimated it and we resolved it and it was fine. This is, again, another example of we're not thinking about this right. It's causing a lot of pain across our industry. Again, why I'm making this course. I want you to get better at estimating and get the value out of it, but that means you have to be aware of the drawbacks and thinking about these traps and not falling into them. Ideally, I help you make estimation both more effective and cheaper over the long term, because I think that is possible for almost every team I've ever seen. So that's where we're going.